Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another video, and this is a paid request for Te69 Spartan. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, tier lists, rankings, video game playthroughs, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a Cash App as well. Links are down below in the info box. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. For those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. Now, this is for the 2010 film Yogi Bear. Now, the first thing I want to say is, whenever I think about this movie, I think about how hilariously bad the marketing of this film was at first. I want to show you, this was the original, poster. And if you remember, now think of this poster, right? Where Yogi's at. The faces. Now look at the tagline. You can't read it. Great things come in bears. Now take a minute to think about that. Great things come in bears. This poster is saying that Yogi is fucking Boo Boo in the ass and creaming him. And Boo Boo seems to like it. Great things coming in the little Boo Boo. Called the butthole. But, I mean, that's... I don't know how anyone looks at that poster and doesn't see what anyone else saw. Now, there's other posters, including the one over there, that are better. But yeah, how no one understood that, I don't know. But despite that, this film did not do that badly. Where it made $100 million in the U.S. and it made about $200 million worldwide. Now, granted, it cost about $80 million. If your film costs $80 million and you made $100 million in the U.S., then, $200 million worldwide. Yeah, I think with marketing, it might have broken even because marketing is a good number of it. You only get like half. Studios, that is, did half. So it didn't quantify a sequel. Thus, there was never one. But Yogi Bear, I remember seeing this back in the day, and my thoughts have changed a little bit, but they're kind of the same. I never hated this film, but what it is, I do think Dan Aykroyd, who voices Yogi Bear, and yes, Justin Timberlake, the Justin Timberlake, voices Boo Boo. I actually think they do a good job voicing those characters. I think they have the inflections and the mannerisms down. And I don't think they're too bad. Like, Justin Timberlake really did sound like Boo Boo. And Dan Aykroyd, he had that Honeymooners, what Yogi Bear was based on, the character from the Honeymooners. I think Dan Aykroyd had that inflection in him. And I just think they deserved a better movie. And that's kind of the problem. Is that I don't think they're the problem. But the dialogue and some of the jokes and some of the modern stuff they were doing with them is kind of the issues with it. Now, I don't think this is the worst thing ever. It's not a rant. I don't think it's the most abysmal thing ever. Is it a film I would defend? No, I would not defend it. But I've seen a lot worse, too. I may not have seen that Woody Woodpecker movie, but that looks 10 times worse than this fucking film. Now, it's directed by Eric Brevig. He did the movie Journey to the Center of the Earth. I think this was the last film he did. He was known as a visual effects guy. He worked on visual effects for the original Total Recall, for Pearl Harbor, a number of other films. And again, I think he only directed 2 films, this film and Journey to the Center of the Earth. And the story is pretty simple, because it is only an hour and 12 minutes. I'll give it that. It is fairly short. Yodi and Boo Boo, because I didn't grow up with, before I get to the plot, I know of Yogi Bear, of course. I do remember those cartoons. I think there was a Yogi Bear movie, like something with the Spruce Goose, something like that, where there were other cartoon characters. I vaguely remember something like that. I could be wrong on the details. I do vaguely remember seeing some cartoons. I think my aunt would always send us a bunch of videotapes, because we only had like 4 channels, but she lived somewhere else and she had cable, so she would always tape stuff for us, the kids, and send us it. Always very nice of my aunt to do that. And then I think there's some Yogi Bear stuff in there, and so of course you know the gist. And with those cartoons, most of the plots were how to get the picnic baskets, that type of stuff. So it's one of those things that sometimes I'm like, okay, am I really being too harsh on some of these plots? Because it's not like the cartoons had the most in-depth, creative, smartly written plots. So it's like, okay, if you want to get the gist of the cartoon, is it really going to be this Oscar-winning script? But at the same time, I do think you could go a bit above and beyond, and I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit did that, and a film I'm going to mention that I think is underrated, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, which sadly does not have an official release. I think over there I got a unofficial one. That I thought was really good. The Rescue Rangers one I still think was fairly good and underrated. And that shows you don't have to dumb it down as much as they think you do. But sadly, that film didn't get a theatrical release, and that's a film I would love to have seen a sequel. Because I think that Rescue Rangers movie was actually fairly clever and imaginative and did some unique things. Took a unique take on it. And, when you do these films, you kind of get into the thing where you damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you do try to do something a bit different with it, they'll go, well, it's not like the cartoon. Because a lot of people, well, they don't like it for other reasons, but one of the reasons for Rescue Rangers, it's not like the cartoon. But if you do it like the cartoon, then, well, it's lazy, or it's nothing new, or it's nothing special. It's just an overwrought or overloaded or just a longer version of an episode of the cartoon. So it's like, okay, well, what do you actually do? Do you just make a longer episode version, like a movie, or do you do something else? So again, it's always going to be a tough balancing act, is what I'm saying. You gotta go with one, you gotta commit to it. And here, the plot of the movie, like I said, is fairly simple. Yodi and Boo Boo, they're getting the picnic baskets. I always like the way Yodi said that. The picnic baskets. You have this narrator that's only at the beginning and ending of the movie. Kind of surprised they didn't do the whole movie. I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, it's going to be like the narrator in George of the Jungle. Which I thought that was a fun, goofy kids film based on a cartoon. And the song and other stuff. But the narrator was like a fake Morgan Freeman, because he's trying to sound like Morgan Freeman, but it's not Morgan Freeman. So while Yogi Bear and Boo Boo are doing that, the mayor of this town, the town is bankrupt, they need more money. They figure we're going to take Jellystone Park and we're going to sell it. And Ranger Smith's like, no, you can't do that. Well, you owe all this money, and if you got 1 week. So him, Ranger Smith, and this wildlife documentary lady, played by Anna Faris from Scary Movie films, They try to raise some money, raise some awareness. They have like a little fireworks festival. Yogi Bear accidentally screws it up. Seems like the park's shut down. Then Yogi and Boo Boo have to find a way to save the park. Because the mayor has the logging company. They don't cut down the trees, ruin Jellystone. So now they gotta find a way to save the park. And it goes from there. Now, like I said, Dan Aykroyd, I think, does a pretty good job eliciting the feel of Yogi. And again, Boo Boo, I thought Justin Timberlake was actually fairly accurate with the voice of the original cartoon. And once in a while they would talk with each other, converse with each other, and that you see like a nice chemistry with each other as they are animated cartoon characters. We got the razzle dazzle, but we haven't practiced the razzle dazzle. You don't need to practice it, Boo Boo. Or Yogi talks about something that has his hands up like this, and they'll look in, and Boo Boo's like, "What are we looking at?" "I don't know." Well, there's little moments like that. I do think if they just stuck with those two and just make the comedy reminiscent of the cartoon, that yes, there are going to be people that think it's childish or old school. I do think it would have been a better tonal consistency. The problem is, number one, they try to modernize some of the humor and jokes, and to be honest, a lot of people don't want to see that. Unless you don't want to be very clever with it like the Rescue Rangers movie. Other than that, I don't need to see Yogi Bear trying to dance to "I like big butts and I don't know why. You other brothers can't deny." I don't need to see Yogi Bear and Boo Boo try to dance to that song. I don't need to see or hear Yogi make a pee joke or a fart joke. Or really, not really a fart, but like Yogi Bear talking to the ranger. "I see you like that girl. You should do certain things. This rule, and also fight with anyone that gets near her, and also urinate on her." Like, I don't need to hear Yogi Bear say that. I don't need to hear some noise. What was that? "It sounds like when Boo Boo eats a bunch of beans." Oh, my stomach's not that great with that stuff. "For a little bear, he makes a lot of stink." Like, I don't need to hear that kind of dialogue from Yogi Bear. I mean, I know it may not seem much to people, but that stuff is just lame. It's like, oh, it's a cartoon, so we're making a little bit of, juvenile jokes because, oh, look how sneaky we are. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. I don't know, many people really find that shit funny. Now, thankfully, there isn't a literal scene pee or poo joke or anything like that, but it's like, come on. We could do a bit better than that, can't we? Also, nobody's going to watch a Yogi Bear movie because they want to see Ranger Smith have a fucking romance with someone. And also the guy they picked for Ranger Smith was such a huge miscast. It's this guy named Tom Cavanagh. I don't know what else he's been in, but man, he has such low energy. He reminds you nothing of Ranger Smith. Not look-wise, because Ranger Smith seemed like an older person. Not energy-wise, not voice-wise. This guy just has such low energy. Okay, I'm doing this movie. Yogi, why are you doing this? No, don't do that. Hey, go put those maps up. Go over there. Yeah. I made a mistake. I lost Jellystone. I lost that girl too. You apparently lost your soul and you lost your fucking emotions and you must be one of the goddamn body snatchers. Do you get some emotion in your fucking body, dude? Do you take Valium before you go to set? Why is he having such a low goddamn energy count in his fucking body? Jesus Christ. You literally sleepwalking through the goddamn park of the part. Through the part and in the part. Kickstart your fucking heart. Maybe you know, do you need jumper cables on your nuts to get some energy in there? He, to me, is the worst part of the movie. No one gives a shit about his romance. I mean, I like Anna Faris. The only humor they give her is that as a wildlife documentary filmmaker, she was in other parts of the world with animals, so sometimes she acts a little bit like an animal. But I mean, I like Anna Faris. I think that they could have done more with her humor-wise if they wanted to. But again, no one has seen Yogi Bear for this romance shtick. T.J. Miller's in the film, which he was Deadpool's buddy in the first two Deadpool films. I know him and Ryan Reynolds kind of butted heads. And T.J. Miller seems like a prick. He seems like an absolute prick. And he's also the same guy that I believe at one point, as a joke, he did like a bomb scare. Because that's very fucking funny. Don't believe me, look it up. Apparently yeah. No, fuck that. There's no excuses. It's bullshit. Fuck, you're a stupid fucking person when you do that shit. Fuck you. So, T.J. Miller. I'm not a big T.J. Miller guy. I could deal with him in Cloverfield, but he's the guy behind the camera, holding the camera for most of the film, but this, I mean, it's just him kind of doing his normal shtick. So if you like it, it's there. If you don't, there you go. I will admit it's nice that Yogi Bear and Boo Boo are in the film a lot. And what I mean by that is that sometimes with these films, at least for a while it felt like, they wanted to not have the characters as much on screen because they knew there would be a lot more money involved. But it didn't feel like that with this. There's a lot of Yogi Bear and a lot of Boo Boo throughout the entire film. And again, there's moments they have that I thought were kind of funny. When everything's terrible and Yogi thinks he's got to go out and forage, but then he takes all these stats with him, and Boo Boo has that look like, or before everything goes to hell, he's not supposed to go down there, and he's like, okay, Boo Boo, you need to cuff me to this tree, and that way I don't screw everything up. Okay, cool. Now unlock me. And Boo Boo's like, huh? Unlock me. And then this montage of him trying to get out of the tree. That feels like something that would have been in the cartoon. So again, stuff that's reminiscent of how they would act, feel, react in the cartoon, I think worked decently. If you liked that character in the cartoon, of course. Also, it's always nice to hear the Poison song, Nothing But a Good Time. I like that song. It's always nice to hear that. That's when he's doing his bit of a water ski trick, which goes wrong, screws up the fireworks, scares the people, and then the part's all up shit creek. But again, they find out things are screwing up. They find out trees getting cut down. They find where Rager Smith's at. They get him back. And eventually, with the help of Anna Faris, they find out that this turtle that Boo Boo has is a very endangered species. Like the only of its kind. And so then it's a race to get that turtle. And the bad guys, the mayor, the people who work for the mayor, the corrupt mayor, they want the turtle as well. So that's where you get the big scene when Yogi and Boo Boo have the flying vehicle. And again, that stuff is reminiscent of the cartoon. That stuff I didn't mind. It felt like that would fit well in the cartoon. I think the voices of the two characters, the actors did their jobs well. The animation, I mean, with 3D CG animation, it can only go, it can only look, I think there's a certain limitation. It does, there's definitely been a difference, because you've looked at, say, Scooby-Doo in 2002 when that came out, you did definitely see a difference in the 8 years. Just look at Scooby-Doo in that movie, then look at Yogi Bear and Boo Boo in this movie. There's definitely an improvement on it. I will say there's definitely an improvement. Of course, then it gets to that point, did anyone really want a live-action Yogi Bear movie? And I think that's the question that people would ask themselves. A lot of times they don't. A lot of times they kind of go, can't we just have an animated Yogi Bear movie that has either some clever writing, some nice heartfelt moments, some nice emotions of the characters, some nice slapstick comedy in the vein of the Three Stooges or the Honeymooners or other stuff, a decent enough story in 80, 90 minutes, and there you go. But I know that it seems to be too hard to ask, because all these characters are kind of locked, stocked, and put in the vault. And then when they come out again, is gotta find a way to modernize it. Well, modern movies suck, so maybe modern is not the thing to look at. Just saying. But it's a shame. I mean, the rest of the movie is, they use the thing, the flying thing, to go down and get the turtle. It crashes. They get on the water, the rapids. Ranger Smith and Anna Faris accidentally get on the raft. They gotta go along the rapids. The turtle gets away, but then it gets back. They find out Boo Boo's been recording to the Anna Faris' stuff. They're able to, I guess, somehow link the bow tie to the mayor's stuff, because he's having a press conference and able to show the footage. I don't know how that works technically. For anyone who is an aficionado in technology, you let me know how much bullshit that was or was not. Linking Boo Boo's bow tie thing to the shit there. And of all the footage he fucking recorded to get to that one spot in that quick of a time, okay. Sure, why not? And then everything works out for the best. Oh, other two things. I did kind of like they referenced the Superman music, because it is a Warner Brothers movie. So when Yogi wants to find Ranger Smith, he's like, "Dip my collar, boo boo," and he puts it on, and you hear the Superman music playing. I thought that was kind of cute. I'm a sucker for that Superman music by John Williams. Also, when they find Ranger Smith, in order to help their search, they need this thing from this vendor. And Yogi's like, "Hello, may we borrow your wheelie basket? That's a nice chocolate you got there." And yet Yogi's reaction, like that was kind of funny. That's what I mean. Those moments, again, they feel like they could work in the old school stuff, and they're still kind of funny, cute. I would say, at least cute, at least to me. That I do remember these characters, and I want to like them, especially if the two leads do a good job. I think they look as good as they can be in a live action film, and I do think that I keep repeating the voice acting because I think it's commendable. But again, it's sad that with a lot of these characters, Popeye, the only thing we did with Popeye, these shitty horror slasher films. But we can't get an actual animated Popeye movie. Yogi Bear comes out for again, I don't think it's that bad of a film. I would say it's a harmless time waster compared with a lot of these other type of movies. I don't think it's as god awful. I just don't. It's short, it's harmless, It has its issues and problems. Again, the romance you don't give a shit about. Ranger Smith completely miscast. Some of the modern jokes they don't hit. They don't hit as well as they think it does. But again, it's nothing too offensive to me. But it would have been nice to see. Do you imagine, like, think of the heyday of Pixar, just writing wise, how they worked with the characters, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, Toy Story. Do you imagine those three movies, the level of care being put into a Mickey Mouse movie, or a Yogi Bear movie, or a Popeye movie, or anything of the sort? Do you imagine how that could work out? That'd be pretty cool. But they just don't do it. I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, it's not that ridiculous. I mean, if you do it for talking fish, like Finding Nemo, or robots, like Wall-E, or toys. But, I mean, that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. So with that said, this is a film I don't mind. It has its issues and problems, though. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.